Okay, well, yeah, there you go. That's boxing. We'll talk a little bit more boxing in a second here, but we do have to talk about the UFC card. It is the last UFC card of the year. So the main event is going to be Stephen Wonderboy Thompson taking on Geoff Neal. Now, if you guys don't know Geoff Neal, look this guy up. I am a believer in this guy. He comes out of Fortis MMA. This guy is, I think, going to be a title challenger someday, but he's got a big test here in Wonderboy because outside of losing to Woodley and that one loss to Anthony Pettis last year where he got knocked out in a fight that he was actually winning, Thompson's looked pretty good. He actually got a win last year over Vicente Luque on the same card as I know you were there for Nate Diaz, where he beat Vicente Luque, who's kind of similar to Neal in the sense that he's an up-and-comer with really good knockout power, but I think Geoff Neal's a different animal, and I think he's going to pull this off this weekend. And I think we're going to start talking about him being a contender as opposed to Wonderboy, who's been out just as long as he has. But guess what? Wonderboy's 37 years old at this point. What do you think of this fight? I like this matchmaking because it's veteran versus prospect.
Yeah, I like Neal. I think I'll take Neal on this fight too. I know Neal, man. I know Neal from Dallas. He's out there in Dallas.
Did you ever go to Moxie's in Dallas? Because he used to be a server, or he used to be a waiter there.
Yeah. That's how I know him. I know him from Moxie's, actually, so I know him from Moxie's, and we talk fighting, and I've been to Fortis too, so I've met him. I know him. I'm hoping that he pulls this off, because he battled COVID a few months back. It was a real tough one for him, and to see him bounce back and be able to make this card and be able to fight a guy like Stevens, I think that he should be able to pull it off skill wise. But as far as Stevens go, he's in a real weird position because he's getting older, and he's kind of in the middle of the pack. He's almost going to be a gatekeeper at this point, Yeah. So if he pulls this one off, then it just depends on how he pulls it off. If he looks spectacular doing it, then okay, Stevens, Wonderboy's right back in the mix of things. But if he kind of just scrapes by, then he'll stay where he's at. Neal, however, it looks good. Neal propels himself. Because remember, every day this UFC is looking for stars. They're looking for somebody they could push, and they don't have those guys. You have the same 8-9 guys you got to push. And one of those guys lose, then you got to figure out who else is coming along. So hopefully Neal can push it, can push through and do something with this fight and make a name for himself and make some money for him and his family.
And you brought up a great point in that, if you're the UFC, you want Neal to win this. He's a younger guy. He's 30 years old. Wonderboy's 37. I mean, Neal's right in the prime of his career on a really big winning streak. Actually, his last loss was against Kevin Holland at middleweight, who we just saw win again last weekend. So, good resume heading into this one. And it's a good test for him because if he beats Wonderboy, then clearly he's at that level. But if Wonderboy wins, it's going to really screw things up because even if he wins, he's not getting a title shot. He's not even close to a title at this point because there's just so much going on. You've got Burns and Usman. You've got Chimaev and Edwards, which I think is going to get rebooked. That was the original main event of this card. I think that has more prominence at this point than what happens with Wonderboy. Although if Leon Edwards wins, maybe that switches things up. But and then you still got Masvidal and Colby, which I'm hearing that's still in the works right now. I actually talked to Colby last week, and it was like, hey, you want to do an interview or something? Talk about this rumor. He's like, trust me, we're working on things. We'll get in touch when things are official. But it sounds like that's going to happen with Masvidal and Colby, as it should, because that's a huge fight. That's one of the biggest fights you can make in that division. So